So welcome to Fake Nerds Watch for Star Wars Andor. This is the latest Star Wars show that is on Disney Plus now, the latest live action Star Wars show about our good friend Cassian Andor, who we haven't seen since he died. So welcome back. So full spoilers for the first 3 episodes of Star Wars Andor. Once again, this is Fake Nerds Watch. Just quickly sneaking into your Fake Nerd podcast episode. What do we think about the show?
Ben, I want to hear what you have to say more than anyone.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I think this is more of a slower Star Wars show than we've ever had, and like I want to see like if you're vibing with it. Because I'm
vibing. I am hardcore vibing with this show. So this Andor so far is that Star Wars show. I feel like it is like the first true, and I don't know any other way to word this, so I'm just gonna word it this way. It is the first true adult Star Wars show. As in, it does take place in a galaxy far, far away, but it has very heavy adult themes, and by adult themes, I mean you see Cassian Andor murder people in the first 10 minutes. I mean, he kills one guy. He kills one guy accidentally, but he straight up shoots a dude point blank in cold blood.
We do actually see him do that in Rogue One the first time we meet him.
So you're right. We do see him do that in Rogue One. What's up? Yeah,
on brand.
Very on brand for Cassian Andor. I am intrigued, and I want to know what happens. Like jumping ahead a little bit to when Stellan Skarsgård, right?
Yep.
I want to make sure I got my Skarsgårds correct. When he shows up, that show went from I still was enjoying it. It went from like a 5 to a 10, and it just like. Stuff went down. I'm like, I am ready for this. I am all here for it. Those first 3 episodes were some good exposition. There are some good, a little bit of kernels of into Cassian's life, and I'm ready for it. I am so happy we got this. I am all aboard the Andor train.
Hell yeah! What are the episode titles, my friend? You got them?
Yeah. The first episode is titled Casa.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is That Would Be Me, and the third one is Reckoning.
Reckoning. Speaking of reckonings, how do you reckon with these 3 episodes, Brian?
I love it. This is exactly the show I've wanted Disney to make. I never thought I'd get it with Cassian Andor as a character, although I was always kind of interested in a prequel about him. I'm so happy. So happy. Thank God. I can't. Yeah. Sometimes I watch this and I can't believe Disney actually put this on screen.
Yes, I'm very thrilled. I like it as well. I like Rogue One. I'm not as hot at Rogue One as you guys are, and I didn't need to see more Cassian Andor. But now that we are here, and he's the focus, he's getting a lot more. But it's also not just about him; it's about the starts of the rebellion and stuff. It is. I agree with you, Brandon. The Star Wars show I've always wanted, but more than just the political side. Like, I like my shows to have a little grit to them. I don't want all my shows to be PG. In the world of Star Wars, it started as PG, so I'm not expecting anything to turn the House of the Dragon. But when you have a franchise that's turning, 50 years old, and it's as expansive as it is, you can do different types of things in the world, right? So the fact that it took us this long to get here, it took a little longer than I wanted, but now that we're here, I'm thrilled. I actually found the first episode to be totally fine, and by the time I got to episode 3, I was thrilled that I thought episode 1 was fine, because it means they're taking their time. And it is taking the slow journey that I wanted to take. It's not a 6-episode show where it's half over already. We just got this was the prologue for Andor more than anything. And I do agree with you, Ben. Once Stellan was introduced, the show really kicks in the high gear for me. It's shot beautifully. This is probably the best looking Star Wars thing, even like in terms of the movies, just because all of it looks so real. Because most of it's real. It's really nice. Yeah. I'm thrilled that we're here.
Yeah. I would end up echoing a lot of what Ryan said. I think that there's such a blessing in knowing that there's 24 total episodes of this show, and we're only in the first 3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a real show.
HBO Star Wars.
And to feel that way, and to feel like I'm watching something that's actually about like people who live in the world of Star Wars, and it's not just like it's a bit or it's just for this one episode that we're kind of thinking about this, and it's like, nah, this is just about like, man, doesn't it kind of suck to live under the Empire's thumb in Star Wars? And it's like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm into it. I like it. I like all of it. I think it looks really good. It does make me kind of retroactively not like some other Star Wars shows as much. But at least there's this one, and I'm glad they put the work in.
Oh my God. There's like one shot specifically of one of the ships. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen a ship look this good in Star Wars. And it made me think about Kenobi. And I'm like, why, God?
Just
Thank God. I'm just glad that Andor... It's real quick about it. It's so weird that Andor is the show that's getting the best budget, the best cinematography that the money can buy. And Kenobi is just like, yeah, give it like a side room. Whatever.
I think it feels very much like it's driven by the concept of, we know we have nothing to like prop the show up on. We're not propping it up on Ewan McGregor. We're not propping it up on Ahsoka or
Cameos.
little baby Yoda. We're trying to do it off of Diego Luna.
Yeah.
Did you like Rogue One? Diego Luna, more show.
Yeah.
That's all they had to prop it up on. And so they were like, we gotta make sure that we make everything else work. And then it did, because they put the work in.
Yeah.
This one actually really makes me, sorry, Ben, real quickly. This one actually really makes me like really question. Like, this thing is, this show looks expensive. Like, it looks expensive in a way that I haven't seen since Mandalorian season 1, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for real, yeah.
I would push it even more.
Yeah, so like I'm watching this and I'm thinking, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, with how cheap Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi looked, I'm shocked that this looks as good as it does, because my standards were brought so low by those shows.
And I do have to like give them some amount of like, during a pandemic, but at the same time, so was this.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings was a pandemic show, everybody. Remember, I need everyone to remember that. Because look how that show looks.
This stopped filming before Obi-Wan started. This show has been in development for so long.
I have a question for the three of you, but before that, when Brandon was talking about how good the show looks, there were many moments in both episode 1, episode 2, and obviously episode 3. I'm watching the show, I was like, why couldn't Boba Fett look this good?
Boba Fett's the one that kind of hurts the most for some reason. Like,
yeah.
Obi-Wan, I still got some pretty good Obi-Wan stuff, but Boba Fett was the letdown where I'm just like,
oh yeah,
why didn't you put money behind that? Why is that show held up by a shoestring?
I'm different. I'm definitely different, because I'm like, I can't believe Obi-Wan looks as bad in comparison to this.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there are episodes where it's like so dark and you can't make out most things.
Yeah.
And the just lame set construction of the cavern that they're hiding in. And I'm like, how did you let that world feel so sparse and Andor feels so lived in? This was supposed to be such a big moment for these pivotal Star Wars characters, and that came off looking cheap as shit.
So I think
I like Obi-Wan too, and you're absolutely right, Sparks, that Obi-Wan does look cheap as shit by comparison.
You can like it and recognize that it looks entirely like a fake show. So I think what helps a lot, and some of the other Star Wars shows have had this as well, but there's definitely more creative oversight because of what's involved. Tony Gilroy and Toby Haynes, who are the writer and directors, are writing and directing most of this entire show. Obviously, there's help behind the scenes stuff, but they are the two guys who are mostly making this show on their own with the help of other people. So, like, it is their visions. And both of these guys, Tony Gilroy comes from the Bourne movies, and he's written a bunch of movies like Michael Clayton. He is a guy who comes from the spy world. And the other guy has worked on Chernobyl. So these are two dudes who know drama. So they are making a drama first that happens to be Star Wars. Instead of a Star Wars show, they have to make into a drama. And like, it just feels like a real show. And it's just like, again, I can't believe it's Andor. That's the show. Like, oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for. Like, thank God. I love you, Cassian. Thank you so much.
So
I have actually a quick response to what Ryan said. Tony Gilroy, no slight to Gareth Edwards. Gareth Edwards did not do the reshoots for Rogue One. Tony Gilroy did.
He's the reason Rogue One's finale is as good as it is.
Yeah, I really like Gareth Edwards as a director, and his visuals for Rogue One always stand out to me. But Tony Gilroy is why that movie is the way it is.
Is Tony Gilroy the one who directed the Vader scene?
Yes. That scene wasn't originally in the
no
movie.
Wonder I love this show so much.
And not just that, they reshot the entire finale. Like the Scarif Beach scene is all Tony Gilroy. That's
yeah,
all, like,
because Gareth Edwards thought he couldn't kill his main characters, and then Kathy Kennedy shows up.
No. The characters are always going to die. The characters were always going to die. What the big change was originally, if you watch, especially, and you can see this if you watch the original trailer, where the satellite was and where the plans were in different locations. So there was a whole other beach scene, where you see like the stormtroopers coming out of the water, like that sort of stuff that didn't make it into the movie. That's where all that came from. Tony Gilroy came in and made it just the one tower, and that was kind of how that's how he restructured the finale.
Okay, still a kick-ass finale. I still love Rogue One. I still love that movie, and that finale is still, and no wonder I'm really liking Andor. Anyways, my question to the three of you: did you gentlemen watch this in all in one go, or did you take a break in somewhere in the middle?
We watched episode 1 by itself, and then 2 days later 2 and 3. That wasn't really out of like, oh, we didn't feel like watching 2 and 3 at the time. It was more the necessity of how our weekend was structured, because we had things.
We had to move.
Oh yeah, understandable.
I did a similar thing, but I didn't wait a day. I watched the first episode, and then I watched the last.
I will say, like, on it, episode 1, I liked everything that it was giving me, but like, for episode 1, it wasn't propelling me enough. But by the time we got to episode 2 and 3, and I saw the flow that it was giving me, I really warmed up to it. But I think episode 1 on its own, like, if it's just episode 1, I don't think it's particularly great as a standalone episode of TV.
I will, real quick, I want to rebuttal to what Ryan said, just by saying that my experience when watching it was I was, like, all right, I'm really liking the way the show looks overall. But the thing that got me about it was twofold. It was, one was the fact that it is very clearly told to us that was the first time Cassian had killed anyone.
Yep.
And that it was accidental. And then the panic reaction to kill someone else, I thought was really well executed. And the fact that was like our inciting incident for this whole story, I thought was really good and well crafted. And then the flashbacks to his time as a child told me already that we were doing a colonialism story, which you picked up on with the second episode.
Yep.
But that's where we were going. And I was like, great, because they very purposefully don't subtitle them, which you were pointing out. You're like, why aren't they subtitling them? And it's because the whole point of what they want you to feel is that the Kenari are so obscure in the world of Star Wars that nobody understands them. They don't know basic. They have not encountered other races on a large scale. They've never seen a droid before.
Yep.
So that's the whole point, is you're supposed to feel like they're completely foreign to the rest of Star Wars.
Yeah, I was watching the flashback scenes unfold, and I was actually really surprised at how well it was structured within the fabric of the story. The rest of the show and the flashbacks work in a really good way, where so they are not constantly missing one or the other. You're enjoying the flow of the story as it's being presented to you. It's a subtle structure choice, but it works really well.
Bringing me back to my Arrow days.
Yeah, right.
We got our first Star Wars brothel.
Yo, man, talk about sex and Star Wars.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was what that was. Yes, it was.
Oh, bro, yeah, like, we don't use our real names here. Come on,
Yeah, no shit.
So, in like episode 3, she takes her jacket off, and that's like the sexiest Star Wars has ever been. She's like, I'm taking my jacket off because we're about to bang. I'm like, that's a PG-13 Star Wars right there.
Real quick, I want to acknowledge the chat. We have Gail, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Reagan.
Sure.
Ragan, I don't know. Anyways, they say, I believe most of the budget on Kenobi went to the actors, while on Andor it went to the sets.
I believe that. I believe it cost Ewan McGregor a shit ton of money to get him back. I guarantee that.
Yeah, probably.
But you're Disney. You can put more money into that budget.
No, it's true.
It's a choice, because that's the thing, is it's a choice. Like regardless of if on the show side they decide how they allocated their resources and that they needed to spend this much to get Ewan McGregor back. It's also like, from a broader perspective, they can look at it and be like, well, we put this much work into what visually the show of Andor is going to look like. If we really want to sell what Star Wars looks like, why aren't we putting that money into Kenobi? Why aren't we putting that money into Book of Boba Fett?
It makes me, because you said, Brandon, that they were filming Andor before some of these other shows. It makes me think that Andor was so expensive, they're like, we can't do this again.
Yeah, that's a good point. It may be.
Especially 12 episodes.
To their detriment and loss.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
So they call Kenari an abandoned mining facility, an abandoned imperial mining facility, which I thought was interesting.
It had an accident.
Yeah, it had an accident. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting that they did that because it's actually a Republic mining factory. The Republic is still around when Cassian is that young, because you hear the girl say, the Republic frigate is on its way.
Yes, I caught that too. I think that they're calling it, when they say it, I don't think that's a mistake or anything. I think they're calling it an Imperial mining facility because that's the official record. The Empire had taken over by the time that they decided to wipe out whatever was there.
Yeah, I was mostly just saying that it creates an interesting look at the Empire. Just the kind of like, oh yeah, everything that was Republic, we're not going to differentiate. We have always been the Empire.
It creates an interesting look at the Republic too, because for all intents and purposes, a Republic officer got up and shot an indigenous child with no forewarning or reason.
Yeah.
Now, you could argue that he was ill and acting out of illness.
Yeah.
Sure, that's what the yellow thing is. We do hear them talking about sickness.
Mm-hmm.
Still, pretty rough.
I don't buy it.
And we hear, it's late in the Clone Wars, so maybe the changes already happened. They're already Imperial officers in the Republic.
Yeah. Aunt Petunia is his fake mom, and she kidnaps him real bad.
That is who that was. I was looking. I was trying to figure it out.
Yes, we've talked about off and on. I've been bringing Fiona Shaw up for a while because she's a major role in Killing Eve and fantastic. So I've been very excited for her to show up here. I think she's great. Love her. We didn't get a lot of time with her. She's so good. I wish we got more. But I do like what she does. You brought up the kidnapping of. We're going to jump all over the place.
Yeah.
You brought up the kidnapping of him, and I really like the parallel of it because in both factors, they so well are presenting to you across the board. What the show is doing so well is giving you both perspectives. It has a leaning and a preference of who is correct, but it is showing you what both perspectives are. Because yes, he's being kidnapped from his people. He's being taken away, just as the other one says. He has people here,
but they're gonna die.
He's also being saved from being killed.
Yep.
Like both of those things are happening, and the same thing is happening again with Skarsgård.
Yep.
He is being taken away from his home, but he is also being saved from being killed. So like it's both things at once, and neither thing is necessarily making the other justified. And you can see the same thing happening when they present, like, from the perspective of our deputy inspector, right? From his perspective...
Oh, Mr. Blue Eyes?
Yes. From his perspective, Cassian and his type are bad.
Yeah.
They have only hurt good, hardworking, Imperial employed men. They have attacked them unjustly from his perspective. Because that's the angle he sees. He's not he isn't there specifically. He is not there to see when they throw the girl against the wall and shoot the other one.
Yep.
He doesn't see that. He probably won't see a report about it either.
These 3 episodes are like a little, like, it's like a little movie into itself, and it's like shows you like how people become radicalized on both sides.
Yes.
And it's so good at that, because you see Cassian and how he becomes a rebel, and you see Mr. Blue Eyes and how he's like definitely gonna become an Imperial, and he's like I'm in the right, and all these people are just bad.
And all of them are talking correctly from like a perspective of not correctly, but like the blue armed militia guys, they are speaking from the perspective of like, these
Space
were
cops.
our guys, these were our brothers. How can we not do something about that?
Yeah.
And that only escalates the situation. And our original chief inspector clocked it correctly. He's like, they were at a place they weren't supposed to be, doing something they weren't supposed to do, with weapons they weren't supposed to have.
They were probably
money they weren't supposed to have.
Yeah.
They got into a fight. They got killed. It was their fault. Leave it alone. Because on some level, he understands that poking that bear only stirs the pot this direction.
Yep.
It's kind of like what the other guy said, the Scottish guy. He was like, there's pockets fermenting around the planets. And it's kind of like the older guy knows this, but doesn't want to make it exacerbated and make it worse.
Right.
Which this would do.
I think it's such a smart interaction where he says, like, these men were murdered. No, these men got into a fight and lost. There's a difference. And I know just from looking at their record and what they had on them and who they are and where they were, I know that's what happened. I know they weren't doing this in the name of their law. They were doing something wrong. And he's like, we need to leave it alone. It's going to get worse. But the young one doesn't get that. He doesn't understand it, because to him, this is just injustice.
That Scottish guy was the commissioner in the Batman.
Yes, he was.
Oh,
good actor.
I didn't catch that. And it was even he was saying like the chief inspector, the old guy, he says is like, oh, I know one of these men. He was a squad leader on 4. absolutely terrible person. He sucked. And I'm like, yeah, just let it, that guy is wound way too tight.
And you got like some of these underlings talking like, why are we doing this? There's no point in doing this. And then he gets the other guy coming, the Scottish guy, and to talk about like kind of hype him up, like, yes, you're right. We have to do this. And they're like, yes, I am in the right. And then everyone else is kind of like going like, what are we doing this for?
You definitely have, this show does a really good job of showing the people who take this way too seriously, and the people who are there like are just like, this is just what we do for a living. Like we come in, we clock out, we go home.
Well, yes, like the Scottish guy, clearly not above Mr. Blue Eyes, but he can recognize that he can take advantage of him to get his way and to get the power where it's supposed to be. So he's absolutely,
he sees a like-minded individual.
He sees a like-minded individual,
and
he can turn him to the right because the Mr. Blue Eyes is very weak. He can't give a speech to save his life. His men are like, this guy sucks. Oh my god.
I think that's all done really well, that we do get enough glimpses of the men to know that like they're not all convinced by the propaganda. They're not all convinced by the bullshit. Yeah. Some of them are there just to do their job. Yep. Some of them, when doing their job, see another person do their job incorrectly and take their gun from them.
Yes.
Like it's all kinds of levels of like who's invested in this and who isn't and who's just working.
And again, it feels like real people.
Right.
Like, cause and everybody, no matter how good you are, has like shades of gray. Like it's that's why I love like shows like this. And like, it's really nice that we can dive into where Star Wars is generally about archetypes. We can dive into like real emotions and like real depth.
And importantly, they do a good job of showing that they're correct. It is Cassian that they're after, but they never actually have enough actionable information to say he is the Canary Man they're looking for. They never get that far. Not on screen. We're not given the information that they have correctly gotten their man for them to justify what they're doing. We don't get that information. You could argue it's hinted because we do see the lady from the brothel come in, and she would have told them, but we don't know that she told them. So it's left vague and unclear that they actually know for sure Cassian's our guy.
And it
doesn't matter because the allegory that they're trying to pursue are cops doing these kinds of raids. Like that's so it deliberately the show wants you to think that like, hey, they want you to make that connection because a cop will stop you even if they don't have any actionable evidence against you.
That's my point. That's why I'm saying I'm praising the show for doing it that way.
Yeah. So, Ryan, you were going to say something. I interrupted.
I sure was. I'll get to it. I'll figure it out.
All right. I really like the way the town rallies around Cassian when they see the cops show up and they have all like everyone's ringing these kind of like these metal clanging on this metal around the town. And it's like confusing them and it's kind of like making them all anxious. And then when it gets quiet, it makes it even worse.
Oh, it's so good.
Love that.
The reckoning line.
And what's so great is there's no music playing during that scene. That's the only background noise in the scene is the clanging of the metal. And it's an incredible choice.
And it lasts for a long time too. Like even in the background, like when Cassian and Stellan's character are talking, like you hear like ding, ding, ding in the background, like, oh, they're helping. That's nice.
Yeah.
Man, that scene between Stella and Cassian with like all the engines falling, shit, dude. What an inventive way to do an action scene that like I've never seen before, but it's also in a Star Wars show. It's like a bunch of just engines falling from chains, like just good stuff. Good stuff.
And that's just a great scene. The exchange between them is super well done.
Oh, yeah. He knows so much about him and stuff. Oh yeah, it's spooky.
You know what also is a good little snippet? I mean, it's not a full-on scene, but a great snippet. When the blue guy runs inside the house, shoots at aliens trying to run away, is trying to hide behind a thing, and then you hear the gun click behind him, and he's like, "How many are you?" And then you hear Stellan just go, "Kill him."
I love that.
Just kill him.
I'll kill him. I'll kill him.
I'll do it.
It is so must have been like he sees a little aliens run by and he just immediately shoots him like, bro, you are the worst. God, you're gonna put on an Imperial outfit so fast it's not even funny.
Do you think just me projecting and just wanting to speculate for a second? We got a lot of episodes to go.
Oh yeah,
which is great. Do you think that guy's going to be the one who outs Stellan later? He's going to remember his voice. Oh. That's a traumatic moment. He's going to remember that voice because he is
pretty distinct.
We do know from the trailers that he is a Senate man.
Yeah.
He's part of the Imperial Senate. So I wonder if he's going to catch that voice and catch on and get him outed.
That's a good, yeah. Like they'll have a chance meeting and he'll like, you sound familiar. Yeah.
Or even worse, like hear him on a hologram or something and be like, oh, I know that voice.
I'm just so excited for the Empire to get involved because like I'm so excited to see like I find Mr. Blue Eyes, even though I don't know his name, really compelling because like he's trying to do the right thing so bad. He's just really bad at it. He's so bad at it.
I hate
he's
him
just
so
really
much.
a bad person and doesn't know it. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what you do.
He's the guy who like unironically drank the Kool-Aid. Like, yes, the Empire is right.
Oh
yeah. Well, again, everything that happens in his life, like it's just pushing him in that direction. Even though like that's the only perspective he has. And I'm like, oh, let's have a sit down with Cassie and it's fine.
I hate that character so much. This is kind of like when I say I hate that character, it's kind of like the love-hate thing because the actor performing in this is doing an amazing job. Yeah. I mean, I want to say that this is probably a really bit of a stretch, but he reminds me of Joffrey Baratheon in a way, whereas you hate his guts, but you still want to know what happens next.
He looks more like Ramsay, though.
He does look more like Ramsay, yeah.
I think it is very important that like the way that they frame where he is and what he's experiencing. Because again, like he's not seeing the violence his group commits. Yeah. He is only seeing radical, dangerous people that are getting in their way, terrorists that are getting in their way from trying to catch a murderer
who murdered
of his fellow men.
Yeah. Perspective, man.
And then gets that vehicle blown up and everything. Like it all falls apart in front of him.
Yeah, his homies get blown up.
Yeah. Also, I love how the second that a speeder shows up, I'm like, oh no, there's bombs on that thing. That's a distraction. And then you see the speeder bike go, beep, boom.
Love it.
I really don't. Stellan Skarsgård is a great actor. He's a fantastic actor. This is the most fun I've seen him have in years. In just the one scene, he's delivering such an. It's almost too good for Star Wars. Like when we see him, like that scene talking to Andor, it's really good, and he's really good in it. Like he is chewing up that dialogue like it is Shakespeare.
It's gonna sound bad, but it's because he's a real actor doing like real acting in like a real show.
It's cool that like Star Wars has had great actors, but they always kind of like know that they're in Star Wars. We know what we're doing, but what Tony Gilroy really wanted to do with this is to kind of like push the idea like, no, let's do a drama. This isn't Star Wars. Let's play this as a drama.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm just imagining Stellan Skarsgård getting the script. He's like, man, the script is amazing. He arrives on set. Is this Star Wars? I'm like,
he's been in Marvel movies, yes.
You're right.
Sparks, what were we gonna say?
No, I'm saying it really does come down to the writing because like the actors will handle material with the deftness that the writing demands. And like, you can have talents like Ewan McGregor who are able to be so talented that they can elevate loftier writing that they are given, and then other talents that aren't in Star Wars. And then there's Star Wars writing where it's already just so solid that they already are able to just extrapolate the most out of it. And this show is an example of that because everybody's getting to do it. It's not just Stellan. Stellan's a fantastic actor, so he's really getting to show, especially because his role allows him to really stretch with this.
Absolutely.
But it is everybody else in the show just has great dialogue.
Yeah. Everybody's well written, absolutely. And coming from, again, I watched a couple months ago, I watched Chernobyl, which some people helped make that show, made this show, and Stellan Skarsgård is one of the stars of that show. And I'm like, it's just nice. Like he's a guy who brings it no matter what he's in. And I do agree, Brendan. He's really bringing it for this one, and I'm so excited that like he's not going to be like a one and done episode thing. Like he's in the show.
I cannot wait to him
and
faking his shit. No, him faking his shit in the Senate.
Oh yeah. The good politics. Yeah. Oh, dude, that's going to be the real surprise. Like, we're not going to get cameos of like famous people. Like, I want to see some senators. I want to see some people that we've seen before, but now they're like with the Empire or whatever. Like, oh, I recognize you from episode 3, you weird looking monster.
I love the line where and it's in the trailer. It's like you just walk in like you own the place. They're so comfortable now that they think they can do no wrong. So you could rob them blind right under their nose, and it's a great moment.
They can't imagine.
They can't even imagine someone like me getting in here.
Getting in their home.
Yeah.
So someone, as long as you come in confident, they're not even going to look again.
I love it.
Yeah,
and and it's so cool because again, like it's one of those fun prequel things. Like we know where it ends up, but like the potential for drama is just so spicy. And like the showrunners have said, like this is a show with stakes, so we are going to meet a lot of characters who are going to die because it's a rebellion. And I'm like, it is nice to have, again, like it always comes down to like people dying for some reason, but like it is nice to have a show with stakes sometimes, because like I know Star Wars and these people aren't going to die. I'm not worried about half the characters in Kenobi, you know, except for like the one new character who I know is going to die. So like I'm really excited to meet a bunch of characters and like believe that they're all on the table. Like that is fun, and to be in Star Wars, to have that feeling.
I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of knowing the destination of where a character goes. You can still have good stakes without the threat of death being involved. But there is something kind of refreshing at this point coming from Obi-Wan. I don't mean to constantly throw Obi-Wan down under the bus, but like it was the last one, and coming from Obi-Wan to this one is stark in comparison, especially in the kind of the way of like, okay, well, our two main leads, we kind of know what they're going to do with this. But in this one, there's really only two characters. There's going to be a lot of characters introduced, which we know, and there's only the two characters that we know where they end up, and that's Mon Mothma and Diego Luna.
Yeah, Cassian and Mon Mothma.
Saul Guerrero.
There you go.
Yep,
Saul does show up. You're right.
I forgot about Saul,
but he's like a fun cameo. But like because we know,
and like, hey, you know what? The this is set in the same time period as Star Wars Rebels. Maybe we get a crossover. You never know.
Didn't they say that? No, Harold's going to be in Ahsoka, right?
And Ahsoka, they've casted the actor.
They did. They totally did.
So
one of the points I was, because we were talking about how we know the fates of three actors, or three characters, Cassian, Mon Mothma, and
Saul.
Thank you. We know their fates, but what I'm loving about the show, and what I also love bringing House of the Dragon into the mix, is that even though I know what is the ultimate end goal, I know how the entire war is going to drag out, the characters that are introduced, I am curious to know what their stories are. I want to see how they get from point A to point B. I actually care about the middle. And I think that's a mark of a really good prequel. Even though bringing Game of Thrones in at the House of Dragon as an example, we know where the Targaryen dynasty leads. We know that in 200 years, they're going to get sacked, and then a bunch of bad shit is going to happen.
It's the same with Rings of Power, man. There's a lot of prequels happening right now.
Yeah, Rings of Power. Jesus, this is the age of prequels, too. My God.
They're good.
They're good. Oh, we are eating so well. But you're right, Rings of Power. We know what's going on, but the characters that are introduced, the characters we've only heard stories about in the main things, now we're finding out what their stories are, how they got to what they are going to be, and I am here for it.
I'm thinking of like I know I just watched it, my memory's terrible, but like some of the final shots of the last episode were like just like zooming in on characters' face. Like there's the shipyard worker who like they zoom in on his face, like this guy's a rebel, and then Mr. Blue Eyes, this guy is evil. Cassian, we know where
it does feel like one of those recruiter commercials where it's like, and I'm a Marine,
and I'm in the show, and I'm like, okay, so you're gonna be a character,
but you feel how everybody was changed by that day,
by that moment, it like I felt the impact. I'm like, oh, this is like the start of a rebellion in this.
I love Mava so much. The actress who played Aunt Petunia, I love her so much. I absolutely adore her.
She's great.
She's hardcore.
I'm really excited to see how these characters are intertwined to the rest of the show. However long, wherever they show up, because if he can't come back to that planet quite yet, it would be cool to see them show up on other planets and kind of like run into Cassian. There's very interesting ways you could do that story that I'm excited to see.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Tim and Bix.
And Bix.
We have, just not by naming them.
If I'm being honest, I didn't know his name was Tim.
Tim, but with two M's.
Yeah.
I watched
that's Star Wars, baby.
They literally spell his name with in the subtitles. They spell his name with two M's. I am not making this up.
No, I didn't do subtitles. I like.
Oh, I forgot another character that we're gonna. Sorry, you say what?
I like those two characters. Like they're definitely like if I had to pick all the characters like who are the weakest, it's probably them. But like I like their story. I really like Tim being like a complex dude. Like he's not a bad guy, but again, like he's doing what he thinks is right.
Constantly feeling guilty.
Like I actually was sad when he died because like he wasn't the best dude, but like clearly she liked him and like they had something there. Like it was like again like a real relationship.
He was jealous of Andor, and then he finds out what he did. He sees her and then pays the ultimate price. It's like because when he gets drunk and he leaves the bar, he makes the call to the Polmores or the Premores or whatever the hell the Blues. They're called the slang, the Premores. Yeah, and the workers, they use slang and call them the Blues. But when he makes the call, I'm like, the whole time I'm seeing him, I'm like,
yeah.
He's interesting because he kind of like has this thing of like he does it in a fit of jealousy because he's been drinking and he's watching the two of them and he's just like, oh, she's and because of that he regrets it. Yeah. And I really like the fact that he gets shot trying to like protect her, like trying to come to her aid. And the fact that it was because of a trigger happy lower ranked dude is all the more yeah.
And and also the torture that Bix had to go through while being chained to a wall staring at his body.
I really like the character of Bix.
Yeah, me too.
I really like her.
I'm curious to see. I definitely want to see more of her.
Well, and she's already in on it. We know that.
Yeah,
she's already in on some rebellion stuff because even if it's not called the rebellion yet, she's been planning Stellan because she calls Stellan specifically not just to come get the box. She's like, you should come take him.
Yeah, you can use an man like Andor.
You know what's really cool is this being set in the same time period as Rogue One, not Rogue One, Rebels. Even without a crossover, there is kind of a thematic crossover because Rogue One is about the rebellion coming together as an alliance. It becomes the Rebel Alliance when it was just pockets of rebellion that Mon Mothma was trying to get together. Now we have two shows about two of those pockets leading up to Rogue One, where they all come together. I think that's kind of thematically really cool.
It
if intentional or not.
Absolutely. And like Rebels is more of like the the bigger side, the Jedi side and stuff. Not that there wasn't smaller stuff, but like it doesn't need to cross over, but there's never a better time to do crossover stuff. Again, not even with the big characters, side characters. Like why not have Hondo show up for no reason? He's a dumbass, right? Have him show up.
Hondo absolutely could show up in the show.
I think we're still a little bit ahead of the Rebels timeline currently. At this specific moment in the show, but we won't be forever.
We are definitely jumping. Yeah,
we are 10 years ahead of Rogue One right now.
Yeah.
So I thought it's BBY 5, which puts us 5 years before Rogue One.
That's even better. That's even better.
We have a lot of
5 years before Rogue One. Yeah. Do you want me to bring up Gail's comment?
Heck yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So Gail was commenting about when I was talking about how like these prequels are good shows because we were seeing characters. They say exactly. Thank you. They think that's why Andor is so good. We don't know these characters, and it's nice to see something different.
Yeah. One other character we know survives outside the show, Babu Frick.
Babu Frick.
Oh! Sorry.
Babu Frick's a Mandalorian, not in this one.
Oh, is it Mandalorian?
You're right. He is we see Babu Frick in Mandalorian. He's right.
I love that guy. The best part of that movie, whatever it's called. I'm not gonna
Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker.
Well, you know what? Technically, I'm not wrong. Even if we don't see him, Babu Frick's alive and still survives past the show.
True. Very true.
Babu Frick is old.
I'm honestly relieved to know Babu Frick's not in the show.
We learned that.
Hey!
Cassian's adopted dad gets hanged, so we have that to look forward to. That's going to be sad. I'm super curious to see how this Imperial mining accident happened, where they definitely didn't murder every indigenous person on that planet. That definitely isn't something that's going to happen. I'm just really glad that this show is like taking this shit seriously and like it's dealing with like police brutality and like colonialism, like real shit. I'm like, I know Star Wars has tackled that before, but it's always like, yeah, but it's for kids.
This feels more direct.
This is like, no, man, like people are getting shot.
This is kind of the one that goes against George Lucas's whole like Star Wars is for 12-year-olds. I was like, is this one?
This is the one where
12-year-old.
This is the one where the 12-year-olds grew up and were like, nah, we're gonna make it darker. Sorry.
I think, and I hate to like only circle a single point, but I think that the value of the show is the fact that it does give you the read where you can see the both sides of it. Mm-hmm. It's telling you who your heroes are. Yeah. It is telling you that there is a side you should be on, but it is showing you this is why they think this way. Yes. This is why they are radicalized against the good guys. This is how you go from being just like upset to being a bad person. I think it's important to do that because like it's illustrative we don't get it, certainly not in our nerd pop culture enough, of like, it's not just saying those are the bad guys, these are the good guys, those are stormtroopers, these are our heroes. It's saying like, these guys didn't always want to shoot people in the street and chain them to a wall.
Yeah.
They got there because of a certain ideological thinking. And it gives you that window. It's giving you that perspective into how they become who they are.
Yeah, and that is the thing that I'm loving so much, that is showing us both perspectives.
And that it's also saying, like, Cassian might be our hero, but Cassian also murdered 2 people in the street at the beginning of the show.
He is a murderer. Like, that first one, on accident. Second one, that's definitely on him. Definitely.
Well, it kind of puts us in the same headspace that we did with Rogue One. Like, Rogue One, as thin as that movie character-wise we are not supposed to know. We are supposed to know that Cassian Andor is a cold-blooded murderer. He murders some dude. The first time we see him, he murders some dude without even hesitating.
It's funny that in the show and the movie, it's like, yo, this guy murders people. Like, damn.
Right. But part of the point. Go ahead, Ben.
Sorry, I was gonna say, like, this show is probably gonna definitely, because he was you could see him hesitating when he had the blaster to the guy's face, and he's like, "There's no way out of this, because if we do go report it, he's gonna rat me out. I'm screwed either way." F it, pew. But I could definitely see the show with him, as much as it's probably gonna make me uncomfortable, him getting more and more uncomfortable with committing the act.
He's gonna have to become the bad person that the Alliance needs.
That's the thing. That's the thing of we can really only see him go further and further into the seediness of the rebellion. Whereas Rogue One, we see him. That's his kind of like rise up to the rebellion that we know, thanks to Jyn. So he can only go one direction. That's really cool.
What I was going to say is that the Rogue One introduction of him killing someone and the introduction of him killing someone in the show are serving 2 different purposes, which is that in the Rogue One film, it is meant to make you distrust him, because the whole thing is that film is making you wonder, will he take the task of killing for the rebellion above Jyn's feelings and kill her father? That's the whole thing that they want you to think about. And that's not entirely executed very well, if you want to go check out my Rogue One review with Brandon a long time ago. But it's there. And then here in the show, it's about, this was the first time he killed, and how slippery that road is, especially in a time of war and in a time of like, do these people deserve it? And it's giving you the visual indication to say, like, they are on the other side, but do they deserve it?
Grayson, that's a good point. He's going to go dark Rick Grimes route. Absolutely. 100%. Can't protect him, Rick.
It's a show that wants you to think and doesn't want to necessarily tell you exactly what to think.
I love it. Love it. Couldn't be happier.
That doesn't normally happen in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And as far as I can tell, and I don't know why this struck an odd chord to me, the first official Star Wars thing where someone says shit.
That's true.
Yeah, hell yeah. We swearing in this.
Yeah, actually, you can have that Scottish guy go shit. I'm like,
we're getting closer. We're getting closer to a Star Wars sex scene.
So close. We're
pretty
closer. Oh, it's a jacket off. That was
pretty sexy. We see someone take off their pants.
That's the brothel.
When Tim and Bix hook up, she goes into the other room, takes off her pants, and sits in the bed. We're getting closer, guys. We'll get there eventually. I have faith.
Let's see. I think that mostly covers it. I'm very thankful at the pace that it's going. Having 24, like, it's 12 episodes a season, but having 24 episodes, knowing where it's going, like, it's going to be a really fun roller coaster going up to the Rebel Alliance. And that's I have full faith in the show, and I'm glad everyone on the internet is going crazy for the show too. Like, it's really nice to have everyone on board for a Star Wars show.
If you put the quality into the work,
yes,
people will like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you bring up the last few comments and then we'll close it out.
So Grayson was like, wow, Star Wars R-rated film. Ooh. And then Gail comes back and says, when the Lord of the Flies rolled up on the spaceship crash, I don't know if those were an alien species or folks with jaundice. I want to say they were dying because there was a gas leak. And
there was like sickness. There was some sickness that they were dying from. That's why when Mava shows up, she's wearing her mask.
But Gail's right. When we see the first scene, I also was not clear on if this was an alien species or not for the first 2 bodies we see. And then once the second body dropped, I was like, I think this is illness.
Yeah. I love the Lord of the Fries rolled up. I think that's really funny.
That was funny. That was funny.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, that show's great.
That is Fake Nerds Watch for Star Wars Andor, the first 3 episodes. You want to hear the rest of us talking about Andor going forward, it will be on its own Fake Nerds Watch series, unless we have to do this again, which might happen. Who knows?
Time will tell.
I don't know. I don't really want to close it out because whatever. Let's go into the book club then.
Hey, thank you for watching Fake Nerds Watch. This is a regular podcast episode, so we're going to go to our book club. But if you're watching this on your own, thank you for stopping by.
Yeah.
All the links are down below. We love you.
See you for more Andor.
See you for more Andor.
Yep.
Andor what?